On this Lez Chat, we give a camp recap and talk about the future. This is Lez Radio, a combat sports podcast. I'm Kelly Shennicky.
And I'm Andrea Shennicky. Welcome to the podcast.
All right, so we just got done with camp.
Yes, we did.
I mean, a bit ago, we were taken out with illness.
That happens when you get together with people.
A bunch of people in a room. But we just wanted to do a quick Lez Chat where we talk about the recap of how camp went, but also the future of our Lez Roll endeavors outside of the podcast. And let's just start with camp before we get to the future, because it makes sense to go, I think, in order.
Yeah.
Camp was really, really cool this year because we did a few things differently.
Yes.
We're learning every year. It's our third year.
Yeah, the iterations just, I feel like, keep getting better and better, and we're striving for what that beautiful matchup looks like, and I think we're getting so close.
Yeah, I think one thing that's great is obviously there's a certain amount of folks who don't end up showing up, right, that register. But this year we looked around and we had some no-shows, and I looked around and I'm like, I think our capacity limit is perfect because our capacity limit factors in some no-shows. And I think any more people and it would have been too much.
I agree.
In terms of it being too crowded. So one exciting thing is CrewFit's expanding physically.
Yay, congrats, Jamie.
So we will be able to have hopefully more people next year. We did sell out this year. I did have to actually turn away some people too.
Right.
So we didn't sell out our first year. Second year we sold out, but it was only maybe like the week of or the week before camp. This year we technically were at or exceeded capacity like a month and a half, 2 months before camp.
Yeah, it was pretty.
We were just like trickling in a couple people, you know, that last 2 months before camp, trying to keep it kind of tight and not really pushing registration because we were bursting at the seams.
Absolutely.
So that's a really positive thing. And then a few things that we did this year is we expanded the seminar offerings. So we had more jiu-jitsu specific sessions. It is a grappling camp after all. But in the past, we've played around with Muay Thai. We've played around with judo. We did a competition training. And this year we're like, let's just do traditional seminars, 10 hours of it over the course of the 2 days. And I think that went really well.
I thought so.
Right?
I loved it.
I think keeping it more focused. Like I love that people also train Muay Thai. I love that people also train MMA, but you know, we're a grappling camp. Like I think really just like honing in on like who we are and like what we are was important this year. And then we also added super fights for the first time.
Yeah. So the super fights.
Yeah, they were
cool.
really super cool.
It was super fun.
Yeah, it was. We live streamed them on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they're posted so you can go back and watch them. And they're incredibly important for us to have. And I have to give a shout out to Jared, and I'll talk about this a little later in the episode, but he was the person who initially said we should do something. And I said, why don't we do super fights instead?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And yeah, at least to like initially test the waters. So this was our year of testing the waters with that, and it went really well.
I think it went beautifully.
And I think it's incredibly important when a lot of organizations are not trans friendly that we are able to offer a space in addition to Queer Fight Night in Seattle for trans grapplers to compete as they see fit and as they wish. That's just incredibly important. And I know it meant a lot to the people who competed.
I mean, yeah, it did. They told us. So it was great. It was a great experience.
We also added an intro session for the community. So people who were attending camp could attend as well if they were new to jiu-jitsu, but also like just people local in the Indianapolis metro area. We invited them to come and just kind of see what jiu-jitsu is about. Again, LGBTQ plus specific. And that was great as well. We had a lot of people.
Yeah. So we want to give a shout out to Petra for running that session and doing
fabulous.
It beautifully.
Yeah. And Salma and Amanda helped her as well.
Yes, yep.
Yeah. Just really appreciate them. And so then I guess the other thing that I think kind of changed this year is exactly that. We've had help every year. I don't want to act like we haven't. Every year it would have been impossible to have done camp without people helping. We've always had people helping with check-in, taking down the Muay Thai bags, you know, etc. But I felt like this year we moved closer to it being a community event where we had folks who were helping with the planning behind the scenes. And I hope that next year we continue that even further. I keep thinking about like what I could have done more in that regard. I'm thinking like I probably should be less front and center. Maybe why didn't I have Lainey introduce AJ or, you know, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So that's something I'm considering, you know, kind of going forward is obviously like this is our baby to a certain degree, but we want this to be a community effort. So just ensuring that other people feel like they have ownership over it too. and are not just volunteers. I think there's a
Right.
distinction there.
Yeah.
Like they're not just volunteers, they are like actual co-hosts of the event. So that's incredibly important to us. And yeah, let's also talk about the instruction because I think the lineup was really phenomenal this year.
Oh, lineup was great.
It was so good. So we always try to have a variety in terms of our instructors. Their styles, we have gi and no gi, and we always try to have a variety of techniques taught. And instruction's been a priority for us. There are a lot of people who are good at jiu-jitsu who can't teach.
I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not everyone's adept at that, and that's fine.
Yes,
That's not
absolutely.
that's not an insult. But having folks who are really, really good at teaching is important, and having people back who've attended is really important, and bringing in new people is important too. So we try to do a little bit of all of that. So Molly was there as a participant last year and came back and taught. That's really great. And next year, I'm not ready to give the person's name yet, but we have someone coming back. We have to still settle on dates to make sure we have it like locked in, but we have someone coming to teach who hasn't taught before at our camp, but was there as a participant this year.
I think she'll be a lot of fun.
Ah, yeah, a hint.
Just a wee hint.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that too. And then, like I said, I think that another thing that was great this year was that community vibe. And it's always like sad when you don't have certain people returning.
Yeah.
I miss them. But then it's really, really cool when you have new people or people maybe who missed a year. Like Perry came the first year, couldn't make it with work last year, but made it this year. So it's like, that's nice. And then we have people who've been there all 3 years, brand new people. I love that. I love that mix and like welcoming new people into the community. It's such a good group.
Oh,
I'm only sad we didn't get to go out because babies and all.
oh yeah. Babies kind of make like hanging out with everybody difficult.
We talked about selfishly next year maybe having like a party at our house or something so you all can come to us on the opposite side of town, but that's the only hang up. But yeah, no, just it was great.
It was so much fun.
It was so much fun.
You can't see it, but I've been smiling ear to ear this entire time we've been recording because it was just so much fun.
Did you have any moments that during camp really reminded you of why it's important?
Honestly, seeing a lot of the rolling, not just the matches we did, but just seeing everyone roll in the open mats and things like that, or like in between. It's just like we're all here doing the same thing together and it's fun.
And it's like, not that people don't feel nervous, especially if they haven't been before, but it feels like there's like a certain comfort level too that you don't always feel at a camp or at an open mat. It's like everything just felt very comfortable. Not just me. I mean, like I got that sense from the
just
space.
Felt right.
Yeah,
was
that it
the
all
best
felt
way
right.
I can describe it.
Mine was, I had one person who came up to me at the end of the camp and said, and this was a black belt, who said, you know, I've actually been really burnt out on jiu-jitsu and I kind of thought about not doing it anymore. And I'm now really excited.
How beautiful is that?
That's amazing. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. And that's just very validating. And
yeah, it just shows you what we're doing is important.
Yeah, it's so nice. So things that are coming up in the future. And this is where we kind of are going to get off the path here with it just being camp specific. So we announced this at camp. We haven't otherwise announced this publicly, but we are currently working on the Lez Foundation, which would be our nonprofit wing. So we're currently just waiting on the IRS to hear back from them. We have everything else done. So with that, the mission is not going to be LGBTQ plus specific, but rather to support marginalized or underrepresented communities in jiu-jitsu. Obviously, camp is one of those groups. Right. So of course we're going to keep our annual camp in the spring, but we are wanting to do a fall seminar every year, and we want to rotate the cause. So what cause, when, what that's going to look like, we're still working out, but it would be local here in Indianapolis again. And it's also, I think, a nice opportunity to have instructors who aren't necessarily members of the queer community, but, you know, want to participate and help us and whatever. So we're thinking about that for, I think, this fall, like starting right away. And it would be a fundraiser for camp, or not for camp, for the foundation. In part, like we would maybe probably do like a pay what you can to come to the seminar. And then we would split the proceeds between the foundation and a cause. And again, rotate the cause. So, you know, whatever that may be. Maybe we're fundraising for ACLU and like their work for undocumented folks or whatever. Like,
right.
We'll have to talk about that. We're talking about that as a group right now. And I think that it's exciting. I like that we are expanding our mission. I like that we're formalizing things in terms of becoming a nonprofit. And it really, again, moves the non-podcast part of this, the work that we're really doing beyond the podcast, again, to a space where it is not you and I.
Right.
But it's a collective group of people who are leading the charge and have their own vision and ideas. So that's going to be really exciting. More to come on that. And then another thing I'm really excited to talk about, which is the more like amorphous, like we don't have immediate plans, but we are talking about it again as a group, our street team, is possibly hosting a tournament.
Yes.
So this came up a year ago. This is not new. A year ago, Jared, this is what I was alluding to earlier, said, hey, why don't we do a tournament at camp? And I'm like, I logistically don't know how to fit that into the weekend. And that just makes me nervous. I'm organized. I can figure it out. I can figure out anything when it comes to event planning, but it was just a lot. And so we're talking about like options for doing it a different time of the year or potentially somehow fitting it into the weekend. Like maybe we expand more into Friday, right? Start earlier, which is more of a time commitment, but then you're not flying to Indianapolis twice if you're coming from out of town. So this is very much just a thought, but it is a thought we want to pursue.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is, again, not a new thought. This is something we've been working on behind the scenes for about a year now. And the super fights were the testing of this. So my only hesitation, aside, I'm not worried about the amount of work. My only hesitation, so this is for everyone to think about, is I believe really strongly that you should first support the things that exist when we're talking about marginalized communities, and you should not take away from them. I think that sometimes there's room for everyone, sometimes there's not.
Right.
Sometimes you can take away from something. So there is Queer Fight Night in Seattle. And if I feel at all, or our group feels any inkling of this being something that would take away from that, I would not want to continue pursuing this.
Absolutely.
Because we're pulling from a limited group here.
Yeah.
For a queer and trans tournament. I didn't say that. It would be a queer and trans tournament. And I'm aware of that. So it's just a thing that we're thinking about and we've been thinking about for a while. We want, they don't own queer tournaments. That's not what I'm saying. But they started one.
Yes.
It's doing well. And we want to respect that first and foremost and not pull people away who maybe would have to choose between the two.
Absolutely.
So if we feel like we can add to it and not take away, it's something we're planning on doing. But we need to think through that a little bit more. Time of the year, if we could wrap it into our camp, ideally somehow without taking away from camp. These are just things we're thinking about. So if you have thoughts, let us know. If you want to get involved, also let us know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, those were the big things that I wanted to share. But I did want to add, again, we do have a group of people who help with these things. And you can be not queer and you can help with camp. For example, like I always need people to reach out to get people to donate things for our swag bags. If anyone has fundraising experience, especially now that we're going to be a nonprofit, I really could use someone that can do it a little bit more intelligently than me. If you have any maybe professional experience or you've done it for another nonprofit, those sort of things. Like there are so many things that we could use help with.
Yeah.
And it can be whatever you want to offer. And it could be whatever you're good at. And it can be limited, it can be expansive, like it can be anything. We have a lot of people that do weekend of help, which is very, very helpful, don't get me wrong. But this is an all year long thing. And yeah, we want this to be a community event, both camp and the expanded work that we're going to be doing for underprivileged and marginalized communities in jiu-jitsu. So just reach out. We literally just have a group on Discord. We'll add you to it and get you involved in our work.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's really it. Yeah.
And do you have anything else?
No.
That wasn't a quiz.
No, I don't think so.
So, all right. If you listen to this entire thing, thank you. And we will be back with a full episode the next time.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye.